Kelsey Plum. Kelsey Plum was supposed to be a symbol of the league's evolution, top talent, growing brand, and now, potentially, top-tier pay. But the much-hyped $1.1 million salary number turned out to be more illusion than revolution. Behind the scenes, the real base salary was $850,000, with the rest tied up in hard-to-reach performance clauses. As details surfaced, the players' union pushed back, furious at how the league was spinning numbers to win the public narrative. Fans were left confused, and trust started to erode. What looked like progress was actually pressure, a PR maneuver masking a financial crisis. Weeks, and now that crisis is front and center. The WNBA's $3 billion debt has cast a long shadow over negotiations, and the commissioner's dramatic walkout only highlighted how fractured things have become.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Emerging leagues are drawing players away, and the threat of a canceled season is real. For younger players and those on minimum deals, that's a career ender, not just a setback. The league's recent success, record ratings, new endorsements, could unravel fast if leadership doesn't find a way to reconcile ambition with financial. The WNBA was supposed to be on the edge of a breakthrough. Ratings were up, fans were showing out, and the league finally had cultural momentum on its side. But now, it's chaos. Negotiations have collapsed, the commissioner just walked out, and the league has dropped a financial bombshell no one was prepared for. $3 billion in debt. That number sent shockwaves through the room. Not just because it's massive, but because it exposed something much bigger than a balance sheet. It exposed a fracture in the foundation of the league, a disconnect between public perception and internal reality. While the league was celebrating its growth, the financials were quietly sinking. And now, with that figure out in the open, the stakes have never been. The walkout didn't happen during a press conference or after a long week of media interviews. It happened mid-negotiation, in the room, with players, representatives, and stakeholders all trying to hammer out a new deal. That deal? It was supposed to fix the league's outdated salary structure. For context, the previous maximum salary was around $220,000. The new proposed number? $1.1 million. Headlines lit up. People thought the WNBA had finally leveled up. $1 million max deal? That sounded like progress. But almost immediately, the details started to unravel. That $1.1 million wasn't guaranteed. Not even close. The actual base salary? Around $850,000. The rest? Performance bonuses and incentives, meaning you'd have to meet a long list of benchmarks just to maybe see the full amount. Cue the backlash. The players' union wasn't having it. They came out and said what a lot of people were already thinking. This deal was not what it appeared to be. The public got the $1 million headline, but the players saw the fine print. And it wasn't adding up. If the goal was transparency and good faith, this move did the opposite. It made people question everything. Media reports started to confirm what the union was saying. The $1.1 million figure was misleading, and the guaranteed portion was far lower than it looked. That gap between perception and reality, that's what really blew this thing open. Because if the numbers are fuzzy now, how can anyone trust the negotiations moving forward? From there, the situation snowballed. What should have been behind-the-scenes bargaining turned into a full-on PR war. Leaks started flying. Carefully crafted statements hit the media with different spins depending on who was talking. The league pushed the narrative that they were offering historic pay. The players said those offers weren't real. The message to the public became murky fast. One side says, "We're offering more than ever." The other says, "They're lying about what's on the table." And the fans? They're stuck in the middle, trying to figure out who to believe and whether a season's even going to happen. And here's the terrifying part. That's a real possibility. A canceled season is very much on the table. And if that happens, the fallout will be brutal. Everything the league's built over the past few years, record viewership, bigger endorsement deals, mainstream media coverage, it all risks being wiped out in a single off-season. Because growth like this is fragile. Once you lose the momentum, it's not easy to get it back. the timing could not be worse. The rise of women's basketball is real, but it's not exclusive to the WNBA anymore. New leagues like Unrivaled and Project B are coming in hot with serious money and far fewer complications. And players are already starting to make the jump. These aren't vague threats. These are confirmed signings. Top players, including some involved in the WNBA's negotiations, are moving over to these new platforms. And if that trend continues, it could fracture the WNBA's talent pool. The league's dominance in women's pro basketball is no longer guaranteed. And if a full season gets skipped, that dominance could be permanently lost. And the ones who will suffer the most? Not the stars with endorsement deals and international options. It's the early career players. The ones on minimum contracts who need the WNBA for exposure, experience, and development. Without a season, they have nowhere to go. No paycheck, no platform, no progress. This is where the NBA's role becomes impossible to ignore. Because for all the talk about independence and growth, the WNBA still leans heavily on NBA support. Infrastructure, funding, marketing, it's all tied to the NBA's ecosystem. That's been both a blessing and a limitation. Right now, it's clear that partnership is being tested. The WNBA needs NBA backing to survive this crisis. But the NBA also has to see that the investment is worth it. And with a $3 billion debt hanging in the air and no labor deal in sight, those questions are getting harder to ignore. The reality is harsh. If the WNBA can't get this sorted, the NBA could start to pull back. Maybe not all at once, but enough to shake the stability of everything underneath. And the WNBA simply doesn't have the financial structure to go it alone. That makes these negotiations more than a salary dispute. They're survival. On the players' side, they're pushing for long-term respect. They want revenue sharing similar to what the NBA players get. Figures like Kelsey Plum have been vocal about this, arguing that the league should split income 50-50 with the athletes who make the product worth watching. That sounds fair in theory, but the counter-argument? The WNBA has never turned a consistent profit. That's the push and pull. One side is asking for NBA-level structure. The other side is looking at a balance sheet with billions in losses. It's not that the players' demands aren't valid. It's that the financial foundation might not be there yet. Or worse, it might not ever be there if these negotiations keep tanking the league's credibility. And credibility is tanking. Fast. Every statement from the league feels like damage control. Every counterpoint from the players sounds like another public jab. It's not a conversation anymore. It's a war of narratives. And that's not helping anyone. The real issue? No one seems willing to make the first real compromise. The league is holding firm on its limitations. The players are holding firm on what they feel they've earned. And as long as both sides are more focused on shaping public opinion than sitting down and solving the problem, nothing changes. In the background, women's basketball is evolving. The media deals are growing. The fan base is expanding. Caitlin Clark and others are bringing in massive new attention. There's so much to gain right now, but there's just as much to lose. And if the league keeps operating like this, if the financial reality keeps clashing with misleading headlines and half-baked proposals, the whole thing could collapse under its own contradictions. Because this is not just a labor dispute. This is a reckoning. Years of underpayment, mismatched expectations, and opaque finances are colliding with a new era of attention, talent, and leverage. And if the people in charge don't adapt fast, the WNBA won't just lose a season, it could lose its future. What do you think? Are the players right to push for more? Is the league justified in its caution? Or are both sides letting egos spin and fear burn down what could have been a golden era? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video, share it with someone following the drama, and subscribe for more breakdowns of pop culture's wildest meltdowns. Because this story isn't cooling off anytime soon. The WNBA's current meltdown isn't just a negotiation gone wrong. It's the kind of moment that forces everyone involved to look in the mirror and ask, what are we really building here? Because while the headlines are spinning, while both sides are trying to win the public narrative, the foundation underneath the league is cracking. The $3 billion debt didn't just show up overnight. That number is the sum of years of financial instability, uneven support, and a model that's always been more hopeful than sustainable. And now it's all catching up. The timing couldn't be worse. Women's basketball is finally having its pop culture moment. The hype around rookies like Caitlin Clark? Unreal. Social media engagement? Off the charts. Endorsements? Bigger than ever. People are showing up. Brands are taking notice. And yet, while the spotlight is shining the brightest it ever has, the infrastructure behind the scenes is falling apart. This should have been the year the WNBA capitalized on its moment. Instead, it's burning it down in real time. Let's talk about that proposed $1.1 million max salary again, because that figure became the face of the league's progress. It was a flashy number. It felt like something out of the NBA, like finally the gap was closing. But the second the details came out, it fell apart. The guaranteed salary? Closer to $850,000. The rest was conditional, performance-based, incentive-driven. That's not nothing, but it's not what was advertised. And that's the point. It felt deceptive. It felt like a headline crafted to quiet critics, not a genuine step forward. And when you're negotiating with a union that's already frustrated, already skeptical, that kind of move feels like a slap in the face. President. Photos. The players didn't stay quiet. The union called it out. Fast. And clearly. They said the proposal wasn't all it was cracked up to be, that the public was being misled, and that the gap between the offer and the reality was wider than anyone thought. That alone would have been bad. But then came the $3 billion bombshell. The league dropped that debt figure during negotiations like a hammer, a way to signal that expectations needed to be lowered. It wasn't just a number, it was a threat. The message was loud and clear. We're in no position to give you, and then the commissioner walked out. The walkout didn't happen because of scheduling conflict or a sudden emergency. It happened in the middle of the very conversation that was supposed to define the next phase of the league. That kind of exit isn't procedural, it's symbolic. It says we're done talking. And from that moment on, everything stopped being about salaries. It became about because when one side walks out, they're not just rejecting a deal, they're rejecting the entire framing of the conversation. The union wants transparency. The league wants realism. And now, both sides are framing themselves as the victims. The league says it's trying to offer the best deal it can in a financially impossible situation. The players say they're being gaslit with false promises and manipulated public spin. And now, fans are caught in the crossfire, trying to figure out whether they're watching a salary negotiation or a slow-motion collapse. Meanwhile, new leagues are gaining momentum. Unrivaled. Project B. These aren't theoretical competitors anymore. They're signing players. They're offering better pay structures. They're pitching themselves as the future, not weighed down by decades of bad business models, but built for modern audiences and modern athletes. And the WNBA? It's stuck, because right now, it's too big to ignore, but too unstable to fully trust. Players want to believe in the league. Fans want to believe in the league. But the back-to-back revelations, the misleading salary proposal, and the $3 billion in debt, shook everyone's confidence. Too. And confidence is everything in a league like this. Because remember, most WNBA players don't have long careers. The earning window is small. Endorsements aren't guaranteed. Overseas deals are still risky. So when negotiations drag, when the season hangs in the balance, when offers feel dishonest, players start looking elsewhere. Not out of disloyalty, but out of survival. And that's where things get really bleak. Because if the season gets canceled, and at this point, it's a real possibility, it's not just about missing games. It's about missed opportunities, lost income, lost development, lost visibility. For the players just breaking into the league, that kind of setback could change the entire trajectory of their careers. And the stars? The ones the league depends on to drive viewership, they're already exploring options. If the WNBA falters, they have other offers waiting. So the longer this standoff goes on, the higher the risk that the league loses its biggest names. And once that happens, it's not just a labor issue anymore. It's an identity crisis. Because without the talent, what is the WNBA? It's a question no one seems ready to answer. And that's the problem. Everyone's too busy spinning the narrative to address the actual substance. The players want meaningful, guaranteed compensation. The league wants to protect itself from financial freefall. And instead of finding a way forward, both sides are reinforcing their walls. And then there's the NBA, quiet but looming. Because whether anyone wants to admit it or not, the WNBA doesn't exist without NBA support. The NBA has provided infrastructure, visibility, and funding for decades. But now that the numbers are this dire, $3 billion in losses, how long will that support last? The WNBA needs the NBA's backing. But the NBA needs to see that the WNBA is more than a charitable write-off. It needs to see progress, profitability, a pathway to sustainability. And right now, the infighting isn't helping that case. The irony? Everyone wants the same thing. A stronger league, fairer pay, more respect. But instead of aligning around those goals, the players in the league are tearing each other apart in public. And every leaked memo, every conflicting headline, every walkout, it pushes that vision further away. And let's be honest, fans are tired. People showed up for this league. They bought tickets. They watched broadcasts. They got invested in the stories, the rivalries, the growth. And now, they're watching it unravel in front of them, with no clarity, no leadership, and no signs of resolution. It's heartbreaking, because the talent is there. The interest is there. The momentum is there. But the strategy, the unity, the transparency, nowhere to be found. And that brings us back to the central question. Can this league survive this moment? The answer depends on what happens now. If the league continues to hide behind vague statements and inflated figures, it'll lose trust. If the union digs in so deep that compromise becomes impossible, the entire season could be sacrificed. And if both sides keep prioritizing media spin over mutual understanding, this won't just be a bad offseason. It'll be the beginning of a slow fade into irrelevance. Because yes, women's basketball is growing. But that growth doesn't automatically belong to the WNBA. Not anymore. Not with other leagues stepping up. Not with players starting to walk. Not with fans starting to turn away. The WNBA has a choice. Evolve or get left behind. The solution isn't simple. It's going to take transparency, flexibility, humility, and actual leadership on both sides. Because this isn't a moment for egos. It's a moment for survival. And if everyone involved can't recognize that, then the league won't just lose a season. It'll lose its shot at everything it's been building. Here's the reality. This isn't just a bump in the road. This is a full-on reckoning. And the damage is already here. What was supposed to be a milestone year for the WNBA, a year where it capitalized on rising stars, bigger media deals, and public enthusiasm, is now turning into a PR disaster with no clear exit strategy. The moment was there. The league had every advantage teed up, but instead of rising to the occasion, it fell into the same trap that's haunted it for years. Financial instability, unclear messaging, and a complete failure to align vision with execution. And let's be honest, the commissioner walking out didn't scream leadership. It screamed dysfunction. The optics? Terrible. You can't claim you're leading a league into its next era and then literally walk away from the table when negotiations get hard. That's not resolve. That's surrender. And it signals that the people running the league aren't just overwhelmed. They may be completely out of ideas. This is where things start to get dangerous. Because when leadership wavers, chaos fills the vacuum. Right now, the loudest voices aren't talking about compromise or cooperation. They're talking about mistrust. Players are questioning whether the league ever really intended to raise salaries meaningfully. Fans are asking if the league has been honest about its financial health. And the league itself? It's hiding behind vague statements about sustainability without offering a real roadmap for how it gets out of this mess. There's a growing sense that the WNBA is stuck between two worlds. It wants to be treated like a serious, revenue-generating sports league, but it still operates like a venture in survival mode. And that contradiction, it's bleeding into everything. From how salary proposals are framed, to how debt is revealed, to how negotiations are abandoned when they get too uncomfortable. And again, that $3 billion debt, it's not just a number. It's a statement. It tells players, we can't afford to give you more. It tells fans, we're not as financially stable as you thought. And it tells potential sponsors and investors, this may not be the safe bet you were hoping for. Which begs the question, why wasn't this discussed before negotiations reached a breaking point? Why drop a figure that massive with zero context, no transparency, and absolutely no plan for addressing it? Because in the absence of answers, all people can do is speculate. And when speculation fills the void, trust evaporates. And that brings us to the real crisis. This entire situation has become a trust issue. The players don't trust the league, to be honest. The league doesn't trust the players to accept economic reality. And the fans? They're not sure who to trust at all. Every new report contradicts the last. One day it's a groundbreaking offer. The next, it's all smoke and mirrors. One moment the season's happening. The next, it's up in the air. No league can survive this level of confusion for long. Not when fans are just now starting to show up in record numbers. Not when players are finding more options outside the system. And not when competitors are watching this meltdown, poised to scoop up talent and market share without lifting a finger. Because let's be clear, these new leagues aren't just temporary distractions. They're real alternatives. And their timing couldn't be better. While the WNBA is in the middle of a self-inflicted identity crisis, leagues like Unrivaled and Project B are positioning themselves as what the WNBA could have been. Athlete-led, flexible, financially forward, and not bogged down by decades of legacy baggage. That's a brutal truth, but it's one the WNBA has to face. Loyalty isn't guaranteed. Not from players, not from fans, and not from sponsors. And once that loyalty is gone, it doesn't come back easily. So here we are. The players are waiting for a deal they can trust. The league is stalling behind a mountain of debt. The commissioner has literally walked away. And fans are left watching what was once a hopeful moment spiral into what now looks like a leadership vacuum and a potential skip season. It's not too late to fix this, but we're close. Really close. What's going to take is actual transparency. The real kind. Not another press release. Not another empty number. Not another walkout. Players need honest accounting. The public needs straightforward communication. And the league needs to stop over-promising and under-delivering. Because one more misstep, one more PR blunder, one more bad faith proposal, and it's over. Let us know how you're feeling about this. Are you frustrated? Hopeful? Completely over it? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like the video if you're still with us through this saga. And hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next chapter. Because with the way this is going, the drama is only just getting started.